Good afternoon, I am Het Shah and you're watching MediaPlex Live at 1. The Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario is holding its first strikes tomorrow in the Windsor region. As tensions escalate, the strikes will hit different boards each day this week. The Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation is holding a one-day strike at some boards on Tuesday. As a result, the Windsor-Essex Catholic District School Board will close all of its schools on Tuesday. On the agenda tonight,
we certainly do encourage the parties to get together and have some negotiations and try and work out new collective agreements. But at the moment, there is somewhat of a stalemate in negotiating.
On the agenda tonight at City Hall, Council will discuss More Than Transit, a plan proposed by Transit Windsor to turn the current route-focused system into passenger-focused system. The project will cost an estimated $100 million over 8 years to be spent on the purchase of 100 new shelters, 16 new buses, expansion of bus garages, and investments in vehicle health module. The plan's increased operating cost will be partly funded through ridership increases, according to the report submitted to Council. Saturday saw hundreds of princesses coming together to enjoy an enchanted day of fun to raise money for the most common fatal genetic disease in Canada. Ryan Percy was there and joins us in the newsroom to tell us a little more.
Thanks, Het. Historically, children diagnosed with cystic fibrosis didn't live into adulthood. However, the median age of survival in Canada now sits at 50 years old. Fundraising efforts like the recent Princess Ball aim to keep that forward momentum. What little girl doesn't want to be a princess at some point in her life? This weekend, the Chicharo Club was transformed into a magical world filled with music and games for a princess ball in support of Cystic Fibrosis Canada. The ball drew in around 500 princesses and a few young princes who came to have a fun day and show their support for local families struggling with the genetic condition.
We do, though, have families in Windsor-Essex. We have about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 very strong families in Windsor-Essex that have cystic fibrosis, and they help out with our organization constantly. They're phenomenal families.
The LePage family was front and center. 6-year-old Sasha was chosen to be the event's CF princess. Rather than her routine of IV drips and antibiotics, it was a day of dancing and crafts to make everyone feel magical, despite how Sasha can feel on a daily basis.
Most people with cystic fibrosis outwardly look perfectly healthy. It's the inside that has a lot of issues. So yeah, people will come up to me often and be like, she doesn't look sick, she looks perfectly healthy. She is on way more medication than you would ever expect to keep her looking as healthy as she is. So.
Cystic fibrosis is a disease that affects the lungs and digestive system. It can lead to both breathing issues and the body not receiving enough nutrients. Approximately 4,200 individuals live with cystic fibrosis in Canada. Now, I have in my hand a bag of jelly beans that they were handing out at the ball. This is roughly how many digestive enzymes a child with cystic fibrosis may have to take a day to make sure they get enough nutrients from their food. Events like this are meant to raise money for research, but also support people fighting the disease. Back to you, Het.
Thank you, Ryan. The Windsor Police Service is working on improving gender balance and equality within the workplace. Joyce St. Antoine reports.
Gender balance has been a well-documented issue at the Windsor Police Service for a long time, but since Windsor hired Pam Mizuno as its first ever female police chief in 2019, change is coming rapidly. Over the past 9 years, the police service has seen an increase in female presence through hiring, inspiring, and recruiting. Sergeant Robert Wilson has noticed the issue of gender equality within the workplace and believes that improving the balance would reflect the community.
Well, when you look at the numbers, you have to say it's been an issue, because when you look at our community with basically 50% male and 50% female, I know the Windsor Police is hovering around, I think it's a 17 or 18% female workforce. So I know Windsor Police itself is striving for a service with that basically represents and reflects our community.
Tammy Fryer is an inspector at the Windsor Police and said she started 30 years ago when there were only 10 women on the job.
Now we have about 100 women on the job, maybe 104 to 400 men. So, you know, the numbers are increasing, but I think that we've always had an issue in this profession, and that's Canada-wide, trying to make it an equal workplace.
Sergeant Briscoe says a diverse force improves community policing.
Sometimes we go to sexual assaults and the victim will request a female officer, and then male officers will requests for me to attend. So it's important to get females on the job because for us, there are certain jobs that we are required in. And also, I feel like we have more of a calming approach when it comes to calls.
MediaPlex News, I'm Joyce St. Antoine.
The City of Windsor is reminding residents of resources available to those experiencing homelessness when extreme cold strikes. These include the Welcome Center, Shelter for Women, the Salvation Army, and the Downtown Mission. For those looking to stay warm during the day, the local community centers and libraries are available for shelter. The 211 helpline is also available 24 hours a day. The stage is set for Super Bowl 54. The Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers will square off for a chance to win the Vince Lombardi Trophy on February 2nd. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes helped lead the Chiefs to their first Super Bowl appearance in more than 50 years with 35-24 victory over the Tennessee Titans. Meanwhile, the 49ers became just the third team to advance to Super Bowl a year after winning 4 or fewer games, handily beating the Green Bay Packers 37-20. The Windsor Spitfires keep winning hockey games. The OHL squad has now won 3 straight games with 5-3 victory over the Saginaw Spirit on Sunday. The Spitfires currently sit 1 point behind the Kitchener Rangers. They return to action Thursday night against rivals the London Knights at the WFCU Centre. Volleyball may not be a popular sport in Tanzania, but a group of aspiring teachers is using the sport to raise funds for residents of African nations. Kanal Patel explains.
Education department students at the University of Windsor got the adrenaline pumping for many volleyball enthusiasts this Sunday morning. They organized a volleyball tournament to raise funds for their upcoming trip to Tanzania that aims to provide education to a poverty-afflicted community in Africa. The tournament raised $2,000, but none of the volunteers will get any money from it.
So it doesn't actually go to the volunteers who are going. It doesn't pay like their way of the trip. It just goes strictly to the funding of buying all the materials and resources that they need over there.
But what led them to Tanzania? A mission to enhance education through book learning.
When they went on the trip a few years ago, they brought a ton of books, and it was the first time that some of the students had seen like a brand new book, and the teachers broke down crying, and just simple things like that we take for granted here in Canada. They don't have those resources. Dr. Beckford, who's the teacher of our class, he's been in communication with them for years now.
This isn't Dr. Beckford and his students' first trip. He seems to go back every year because he cannot forget his experiences.
You know, he didn't say we want money or food or clothes or, you know, those things were part of it. But, you know, he said the biggest thing he can do for us is don't forget us. And that was 2008. I've never forgotten that, you know, and I've been back every year since.
Professor Beckford will be joined by 20 students who seem to be excited about their upcoming journey.
I'm personally not going on the trip, but I know a few friends that are coming. They've been saving up to, you know, because it is an expensive trip, but it's for a good cause.
The teachers in training and their professor will be leaving on March 3rd. For MediaPlex News, I'm Kanal Patel.
Now some news from around the globe. The number of people infected with the new coronavirus in China tripled over the weekend, with the outbreak spreading from Wuhan to other major cities. There are now more than 200 cases, mostly in Wuhan, though the respiratory illness has also been detected in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. Also in China, the world's most populous country is also the world's biggest user of plastic. But it's unveiled a major plan to reduce single-use plastics across the country. Non-degradable bags will be banned in major cities by the end of 2020 and in all cities and towns by 2022. Areas affected by bushfires in Australia experienced heavy rainfall and floods in recent days, bringing relief to some blaze zones. However, authorities warn that it's far from over. Over in Philippines, authorities ordered thousands to evacuate following eruption of Taal volcano on Sunday. Schools, government offices, and the airport have all been closed. After acquiring 20th Century Fox last year for $71 billion, Disney has decided to drop the word Fox. The studio will be renamed as 20th Century Studio. Now turning to weather, the sun has returned after a snowy weekend, but temperatures still sit at chilly -4. Tomorrow will be cloudy and -3, but the sun returns Wednesday with a high of 2. Thanks for tuning in. I am Het Shah and you have been watching MediaPlex Live at 1.
MediaPlex News Now is a production of the St. Clair College Journalism Program.